Okay, good. So what we'll do now is we'll make a start, okay, to our induction. So first of all, the whole session will be based around the introduction, a brief introduction to the play Othello by William Shakespeare. Some of you may have heard of this play, some of you may not, but it's one of our key aspects in the first year of literature. Okay, so Shakespeare will be introduced to you in the first year of your literature course as a standalone text, which you will do, and obviously there'll be some key major themes, particularly the theme of love through the ages will be tackled through that play. Okay, so Othello and love through the ages, the key theme for that play. Now, what I want to ask you before we go into the play itself is a pertinent question regarding literature. So what makes a great piece of literature? Okay, it's an important question. I would like to give you about 2 minutes to give me your responses, okay, to what you believe makes a great piece of literature. Okay, what are the key aspects of a great piece of literature? So I'll give you 2 minutes if you want to tap into the message or raise your hand, whichever one you prefer. Thank you. Okay, so those of you who've joined us just now, we're looking at literature in terms of Othello, but the first question we're considering is what makes a great piece of literature. Okay, so if you can type into the message in 2 minutes time at 11:05, if you can tap in your response to what you believe makes a great piece of literature. Okay, and that's our first question. We'll go
if you're feeling brave, just unmute, raise your hand, and we'll pick on some of you to hear your responses. It'd be great to hear some of your voices. So you can just click on the raise hand one or unmute and share your responses. That'd be great.
Nice to hear your voices as well.
Yeah, it would be. Let's see. Otherwise, we're going to have to do the teacher thing and then pick on people. So let's see. Nothing's come through yet.
Okay, we'll give another minute just to see, because I know a couple of people have joined. So we'll give you another minute just to find out your response to what you believe makes a great piece of literature.
Oh, okay. Great, coming through. So we have Wendy. What I believe makes a great piece of literature is a book with a good plot. Definitely, yeah. Very good. It's a plot, of course. Without a good plot, can we argue that literature without a good plot, is it a good piece of literature? Unlikely. Plot is essential. Leon says, I think what makes a great piece of literature is that it has to be interesting and not too boring. Yeah, definitely. And I believe that ties in with Wendy's point about the plot as well, Poppy. If a reader can really connect and understand the piece, and that's actually a really, really interesting point. Yeah, the idea of connecting. So what do you mean, Poppy? Do you want to expand on that? Who are we connecting with? Is it the plot, like Wendy has said? Is it the characters? Is it, I mean, what would you want to just expand a little bit on that? Who do you feel readers can connect with? Leon then says, if the reader reads the same piece of writing, the whole literature will wear off. Very interesting. Okay, so different. There has to be different types of pieces of writing. Do you mean by different types of plot, different types of themes? Is that essentially what you mean, Leon? That's what I'm taking from that.
Poppy's got a good response.
Poppy said the characters, details, emotions, writers in some cases. Brilliant, yeah. Of course, because if there is no connection with the characters or with details, and definitely with their emotions, how can we as readers engage with that piece of literature? And so in order for us to feel that connection, we do need to have some sort of empathy or some sort of connection, some sort of relatability with what is, with what is being mentioned. especially if the piece is about something personal to the writer. Definitely, yeah.
That's interesting,
Yeah.
Poppy. Yeah, what we refer to that as the authorial context.
Yeah, you've actually touched on a very key point of in A-level literature, which is authorial context. The idea that what is the author himself or herself bringing to that piece of writing. That's definitely an interesting point, something that we delve deeper into as we read a piece of as we read literature as well. And I think there was something else that someone said that I wanted to pick up on. What was it? Leon, it says connecting with the audience. No, so why do you think, just before Mohammed, you move on to the next slide, but I just want to ask all of you, why do you think Shakespeare, we still read Shakespeare? Anyone? So you guys probably read it at, from year 9, we read some of his works, and he wrote, hundreds of years ago. Why do we still read that? Do you think people are still able to connect? The language is a bit different. Why do we think Shakespeare is still being read then? Does anyone want to have a go at that?
Interesting, yeah. Why would you still study the Bard after 400, over 400 years? Yeah. Why do we still study people like Othello? Anyone? Anyone want to raise your hand?
It's a classic.
Classic, yeah. Yeah, the canon, as they say, isn't it?
Razan, that's our student, Razan. Good. Good to see you here, Razan. The moral of the story can relate to today. Actually, that ties in very neatly with the next point. That what is being, the moral of the story, or ultimately what we take from it.
Interesting.
There is this sense of relatability. Leon then says, I think the reason why is because he always tends to make topics like love and relationships relatable. Poppy says, the themes he wrote are still relevant, and he influenced literature massively.
Fantastic.
And Wendy says, because his books were very popular then, so why not now also? Of course.
Straight to the point, Wendy. I like that.
And I think if we pick on what all of you have said, but very, Poppy's made that explicit sort of link that the themes that he wrote were relevant then and are still relevant. And that leads nicely on to the next thing, that what we were thinking makes a great piece of literature is...
You guys have made it very easy for me now. You know, you've already come up with the goods, as it were. What makes a great piece of literature? And a lot of you have said this point about relatability, durability, and the fact that even today, Othello and Shakespeare are still current, and the themes and ideas are still very, very important. Particularly, I would say, with Othello. I'm sure Nidha would agree, and she's the sort of main teacher of Othello, and she's done that. And I think the idea is the issues of race, for example. You guys, I'm sure, have been aware recently what's been happening around the world, and the kind of the pain and suffering that's been going on due to race. So this is a very, very important topic, and I think Othello is far more relatable to us today than it would ever have been. So it's really interesting that you guys have come across. But the main key point there is the idea of durability, the fact that, yes, it can stand the test of time. So if you taught it today or 400 years ago, people can still relate to it and actually feel that it's a part of their life. Okay, so fantastic, guys. Well done. I'm really happy that,
and it's great answers coming through. And I think just showing your sort of how you all are thinking about literature, not just in terms of a piece of book, but as literature as an entire genre in itself. And presumably that is why you are choosing to do literature, because you are interested in the genre itself. And so that's what we're trying to get you to think of. What is a good piece of literature? What makes it, so you enter this course thinking about literature as this big umbrella term, and we're doing so much within that as well.
I think just to finish this point off, and I'm conscious that you guys have only got 45 minutes, but the point here about durability is one of the key aspects of literature and the teaching. So one assessment objective is what we call context. And at GCSE level, you probably haven't done a lot of that, covered that, but you will do a lot more. And this is what makes it relatable and durable, is the fact that the context of today and the context of 400 years ago are pretty much almost relatable, and therefore the themes, which we'll go into later on, are also far more important for us today. So context, keep that in mind. It is one aspect of our assessment for literature. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next piece, which is our story. Okay, so I'm just going to run through this very quickly, just to give you an overview of the story of Othello, just to give you a background. Obviously, the detail of it you can still read up in preparation, of course, for when you come back to the main course in September. Okay, so the story focuses on the eponymous character Othello, a black man and high-ranking military officer who, at the start of the play, has recently married a young white woman called Desdemona, and that's controversial. Okay, controversial because of the time and, of course, the secret marriage that takes place between them. One of Othello's officers, Iago, is upset at having been passed over for promotion, so sense of kind of being left behind, in favor of a younger rival called Cassio. So two major characters there, Iago and Cassio, and really interesting, the battle that goes on between them. And then finally, Iago bears a grudge against Othello for the slight and decide to take his revenge on him, manipulating his relationship with Desdemona in order to do so. This is the central conflict of the play, and the play stems from that. Now, the key thing, of course, here is Iago. Okay, Iago is one of the most, I think, interesting characters that Shakespeare has created. One that's often very, very vilified character. And
you don't want to give too much of it.
yeah.
You want to save it for when they do the course. So let's no spoiler.
I won't give you any more. It's a good point, actually. I get carried away.
Yes,
Sorry,
yes. With Othello, we can get carried away.
We get carried away. So, okay, from here then, what I would like you guys to do now is think about the story, and now give us a few ideas of what you believe would be the major themes of this play. Okay, so thematically, what would be the key aspects that would come out from this play? So you can tap in to the message or raise your hand, whichever you prefer. But please go through some of the major themes now. Let us know what you think are the major themes of this play.
Just having read a synopsis of the plot and having an idea of the story, what type of themes are likely to be coming up? And Shakila's already saying conflict and love. Oh, brilliant. Okay.
Yeah.
Wendy, I presume the yes means you're agreeing with the conflict and love.
Yeah.
Okay. Betrayal. Yeah. Good.
Interesting.
Interesting. Yeah. If just keep tapping away, I feel that there are more themes. Just if you were to just take
jealousy. Oh.
Yeah. Wendy's saying jealousy.
Very interesting.
Jealousy
as
well.
Of course. Yeah.
Let's see.
Anyone else? Anyone else? Tragedy, yeah. Yeah. Tragic play, of course.
Yeah. So yeah, some of you would have recognized that as a genre, Shakespeare's tragedies. It sounds like that. And it is that. And let's see, conflict, love, betrayal, tragedy, all of that. Revenge, racism. Yeah, good. So ABZ, I'm sure that's not your name. I don't know what it's, but I'll call you Abs, I guess.
Is it Abdullah?
I don't think it'd be short for that.
Okay.
Revenge and racism, and I think you've picked up on that point that he is a black man who has married a white woman. So the idea of racism as well. Any more?
Anyone else have any?
I think they've covered quite a bit, actually. So we've got conflict, love, betrayal, revenge, racism. Oh, appearances and titles. So that's very interesting. Okay. Appearances.
Now that's interesting.
Yeah. Poppy, what do you mean by appearances or titles? It's the title that I'm a bit curious about. What do you mean by titles?
Yeah, develop that a little bit for us, Poppy. Because that does lead us on to a very interesting topic, actually.
An officer married away, maybe at a time that wasn't really seen much. Yes. So I think you're picking up on that the fact that he is a military officer and passing over for promotion. So I think the significance of titles, that is what is I'm presuming that is what you've picked up on, and that is what you can see as a theme. So it's almost leading to power as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
The idea of having some form of power status.
hierarchy disturbed.
Oh,
Oh,
brilliant.
okay, yeah,
Yes,
excellent.
hierarchy disturbed. Power struggles, Razan. Very
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, these are just brilliant responses. So his title as an officer might be jeopardized.
Oh, okay.
Excellent,
Yeah,
excellent.
I got
I
it.
feel we need to now stop because you guys are doing, it's almost like we're having not a taster session, but we are having a teaching lesson. I don't want to give it away until you are actually in the class.
Fantastic.
But do you see how immediately, we haven't even opened the play yet. We haven't even read the first sort of line, but already there is so much that you, as as young learners, are picking up on, and themes and ideas, and you're getting it. And that links back to this idea that it's relatable, and there is this sense of durability as well. And you may have picked up on these points through other texts that you've read or shows that you've watched, but yet this is what Shakespeare's sort of touching on, and he touched on this almost 400 years ago, and we are, we're still discussing it, and it's still sort of relatable. So very interesting themes, and that then leads us on to some of the themes that we teach, and that we sort of say are uncovered in the play itself. And the themes are jealousy, a lot of you picked up on that, prejudice, revenge, outsider, racism as well. You talked on that. Someone talked about that. And I also think what Poppy was saying about titles and, power, linking to reputation. So just looking at this idea of reputation, can we move on to the next slide? Again, we just want to spend a little bit of time thinking about this idea of reputation. So not necessarily link it just to Othello, but also in your time, for you guys, what do you think reputation means to you? Do you think it's still relevant in today's time, in the 21st century? Are people concerned about reputation? Are you concerned about reputation? Being in your own school setting or college setting, do you think it matters? Do you think this is something that applies only to people who are older, or is it still relevant to you guys? Oh, I didn't even finish the question, and our answers are just coming through, which is great. Wendy says, I think reputation is more relevant in this century. Wow, so you actually think it's more relevant. And Rezan is saying it's important to everyone. Wendy, why do you think it's more relevant in this century? Why? Because we seem to have moved beyond reputation. We judge people on, but to say that it's more relevant in this century is quite an interesting take, interesting perspective. Shakila says it's a way to represent yourself to others.
I think it's interesting, as young people, is reputation very important for you in terms of your, I suppose it's a credibility thing, isn't it? For young people as well, isn't it? So.
And Abs is saying reputation has grown and become more common now for people to establish their presence and be acknowledged. Sorry, I missed Leon's response. I think reputation is always important because as you get older, your reputation develops. But if you use it for the wrong things or wrong people, your reputation is ruined.
Very good.
And Wendy says, I think it's more relevant because it is something you can use to back yourself up and to not be seen in the wrong light. Oh, wow. Okay. So you are, and you touched on the second bullet point, which is, the idea of good and bad reputation. We can use it as people use their good, and equally their bad reputation can have an impact as well. Razan is saying reputation impacts every aspect of your life. For example, the health minister ruined his reputation, so his career and social life are damaged.
Now that's brilliant what I call
point.
Context.
That is a very, very brilliant example. And it's true. Look at that act of, it was his reputation exactly that got, that's been damaged, and it's sort of ruined his reputation. And immediately it's kind of will have this stigma to his, and it's going to have an impact, not just his personal life, definitely his career as well.
Absolutely. Oh, Leon's come back.
It's how you represent yourself anywhere. For example, social media, or anywhere you go, and even school. If you overuse your power or your way of thinking, you'll have a bad reputation, and there's no going back to fix it.
Wendy agrees.
Wendy agrees. Very succinct.
This is interesting, Leon. The fact that you've now brought it right up to the modern age of the social media. Now, this is one of the key points about why we put reputation into this slide, is because a lot of young people, I believe now, are under a huge spotlight. And I'm sure, you know, I'm not young by any means, but you guys must be feeling a lot of this pressure, particularly with the spotlight on social media and the kind of your virtual image and your virtual reputation, the real one. So I think it's really interesting, Leon. You've kind of hit the nail on the head there. And Wendy goes on to say,
especially how this generation will find anything, even if it happened a long time ago, to potentially ruin your life. That's a very, very perceptive sort of point, because it's true. While the internet has given us like access to everything, really. I mean, and there's so much good that comes with the internet. The flip side is that if you say something and you post it and it's there, unfortunately, it never goes away. You can't. It's always there, and that is something perhaps that in our generation we didn't have. It wasn't, folks. So things that there wasn't any way for it to be resurrected and thrown back at us. So reputation, perhaps I can see why someone, I don't know if I can scroll up, but someone in the chat had mentioned that it's more relevant, in this century. Wendy had said this, and I can see now why. I wasn't really agreeing with that, Wendy, but I can see.
It's a fantastic point.
It's really, you've made me think of it in another way, that actually perhaps now it's more relevant, because it can come back to haunt you, And Leon says, when I was in year 7, having a good or bad reputation didn't really mean anything to me. But when I got to year 10 and 11, you're understanding it more. Definitely. Oh, yeah.
That is that is a thoughtful point there, Leon. That is very interesting, because as you go into, I suppose, your high school and, you become teenagers and older, you're absolutely spot on. And Wendy agrees again. I agree. No, I agree before Wendy here. I think it's really important that, yes, reputation can be a powerful tool, but I think we've got to be balanced as well. People need to be given a chance as well, isn't it? So it's really important.
Abs is saying, because you can put so much effort into making a good reputation, but something you probably said, let's say 10 years ago, will be brought up to throw you back to the ground. Yes. So mainly nowadays, people can get jealousy from seeing other people have a good reputation. I mean, you guys are it's brilliant to see.
On the ball.
Really on the ball. And you know what? This is us talking about themes that were being discussed 400 years ago, and essentially this is why Shakespeare still is so relevant to today. And I know when you're at school, you dismiss it. Oh, Shakespeare, don't understand him. But actually, a lot of the things he talks about are human traits, and they are intrinsically what make us tick as people. Reputation, jealousy, good, bad, the thing of abusing it, the thing of manipulating it, the thing of lying or twisting the truth. And all of these things you can relate to, we can relate to, even as adults. Unfortunately, I wish we didn't have to relate to, but human nature is such that we can relate to these points. And
Leon agrees with Abs, and I absolutely agree with Abs, because the idea here is, there's been a lot of, in the press, there's a lot of news reports have come out about prominent players. And there's cricket, I think it's a cricket player maybe that you're referring to, isn't it? I believe. Because, his reputation is perhaps tarnished now, and he's been probably thrown out of the sport because he made a comment. He made a comment on social media when he was young, I think in his youth. So it is very important, guys, especially for us, to understand that what we say and what we do will come back sometimes to haunt us. So.
I mean, and it's not necessarily the right thing, because people change and viewpoints change, but it's almost become.
We all grow up,
and it's become quite unforgiving. But one of the things that the play touches on is as well, that certain actions, they become unforgivable, and they become mistakes that seem to be small, but they kind of snowball into this, you know, huge thing, and they build up and they build up and they build up. And so what we're discussing here is so relevant to what is mentioned in the play.
So if we zoom into a little bit more reputation in terms of gender.
Yeah.
So here, what we've got here is the idea of reputation and gender, which is, I think, also very important, because that's another prominent theme in Othello. So the idea of gender, and just a quick question to you guys. Do you think there is a link between these two themes in society today? How are they similar or different? So reputation and gender. So for example, from a male perspective and from a female perspective, there has to be, yep, we've already got a yes on this one, yeah. So yeah, it's crucial, isn't it? So let me hear some of your thoughts and ideas about.
Just develop, tell us, do you think it matters? Do you think, is it different reputation? Do we have different expectations of reputations? Do we deal with women and reputation? Do we perceive it in a different way to men and reputation? Do
and
we
is that
treat
right?
it the
Yeah,
same?
is that right?
Do we think you know, how we perceive male and female reputations? Razan says, so Abs said yes. Janelle said kind of. Razan is saying definitely. It's easier to control a female in society through reputation. For example, calling a woman bad names may be enough of a deterrent. True.
So yeah, this is an important fact, because you know, I suppose the idea of shaming, isn't it? You know, and it still happens. Still, I'm sure it happens in you know, in all ages. So that's something that's interesting, and it comes from the play. So if you think about, for example, you know, what we'll be looking at in a minute is the idea of Desdemona, you know, and what she does, particularly in the play, about, I suppose, not going with her parents, her father, and society, and deciding to go her own way. It's something very modern, you know. So it's another thing that's interesting. You guys will find very interesting.
And Poppy says, I think in society today, it's harder today for women to have a higher reputation than a man because of the amount of setbacks there are for women and not men. Yeah. And Wendy is saying yes. And it's true, like, think about how much, that's another discussion for when you are in class. Like, has society actually made, you know, we talk about equal rights, and, you know, women have indeed come a long way, but essentially we're still playing catch up. And is it that, you know, how relevant is that? And it seems even from your responses that it is relevant, that actually women are not, it appears that they're not on that equal footing when it comes to reputation or any other thing. Than men. And Wendy says, women, in my opinion, are really overlooked in basically everything they do. Leon says, definitely. It's too easy to control a female, but I have to agree it's harder for women because it's hard because they have a higher reputation than men. And I don't think it should be like that anyway. Yeah, so...
One interesting thing from this, I think, going back to the point that Wendy made, and I think Leon made, was the idea of equality, but equality in terms of meritocracy. So we've got to look at, obviously, if a person's doing the same job, for example. So if I'm doing the same job, Nitha's doing the same job as a teacher, is it right that I should get more pay than her, or should it be equal? Because that's what society is not doing. And I still believe, so exactly, that's absolutely spot on. So if you're doing the same job, same, you know, kind of an equality, same, then it should be same pay. I'm sure you all agree with that, yeah? And that's the idea.
And how we're still having these discussions. Society is biased against men too. For example, a lot of people were backing Amber in the Johnny Depp domestic abuse case. Apparently, Johnny Depp was innocent after all, but his reputation is soiled now because it has to be equal. So actually, Razan, that's a very good point. You are. Let's not we don't want it to be a one-dimensional argument, you know, because reputation and gender isn't just a situation of a case where we're just focusing on the woman and her reputation, but we also need to recognize the man and the reputation as well. And Wendy says, because we have come so far, and Leon says, no, it has to be equal. You get paid the same amount because you guys work well together. Thank you, Leon. Yes, I presume you got that last point from our induction that we're doing together. So yes, we do work well together. And no, he doesn't get paid more than me.
No, it's not.
So,
But that is the point.
That is the point. Like, these are the issues.
Meritocracy.
Meritocracy. And actually, what Rezan, I really want to pick up on that men can get that idea. And do you then think, as Othello is a black man, do you think as a black man, a reputation would be different to, let's say, a white man's reputation? Do you think, I mean, I know we've put gender here, but do you think race also has a part? I don't want to miss what Wendy said. Yes, media is biased and people on social media are really quick to come down and blame people without really knowing the whole situation. Oh, Wendy, you've touched on such a critical point in the play as well.
Gosh.
And Rezan is definitely agreeing. Wendy's agreeing. Leon is agreeing with Wendy. Ab seems to be agreeing with everyone as well. And Shakila is saying sometimes, so not completely agreeing. Social media needs to chill out sometimes, yes. Or we need to chill out from social media sometimes. Deviance amplification, and Wendy's point, I agree. I like that. Very good. I mean, it's brilliant. And I think we can go on and on and on with this discussion. And this is the beauty of literature, that it opens up debate and discussion and theories and critical perspectives on anything, really. Look at how we started from Shakespeare, but today we're talking about, we've kind of branched out to social media and schools and how reputation sticks and it doesn't, and what is right, what is fair. So brilliant discussions.
What I would like to do now, I think we'll go to the last point, because we've got just over 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And what I want to do is I want to go to the last point, because the issue we have here is this final food for thought, because I think this is the thing that's going to really bring up our sort of all of our thoughts today and everything that we discussed. So the themes that we've discussed today, so all the themes that have come up, okay, so what do all these themes and issues have in relation to individual position in society? So what I want you guys to think about for a minute is, so for example, if we pick out the issue of, say, for example, reputation and race, those are two important ones I think that we've come across today, isn't it? So let's think about those two and what in relation to today in society. So for example, if we think about what we've experienced through this year and last year in terms of people, their race and the kind of struggles that have happened, on top of all the kind of COVID things that we've been dealing with, it's still something that is really important. And we thought that this was gone, wasn't it? The idea of race doesn't affect an individual position today, but we were so wrong. We were so wrong in terms of. Or are
we wrong? Let's not even feed this. I mean, I know you guys mentioned that it is still relevant. So how relevant is it in today's times, and into an individual's position in society? So how relevant? I suppose what we're trying to say is, how relevant do you find these themes that we've discussed? Leon says racism never leaves the world. Wendy, honestly, I still think that racism is there, but it's done so discreetly now and then it interlinks with gender. Okay, so you're seeing it as an interwoven sort of theme. But do you think it is done discreetly? Do you think overt racism, we've actually been able to conquer that? Do you think we've been able to sort of, so overt racism, and Leon wants to actually clarify from Wendy as well, but not always reported. That's another issue, yes. How do we know what is that, what is racist? And I suppose the thing with racism would be,
this is interesting, like, and this idea about discreet. Now, this is interesting. Some of you guys have come up, and again, this is something that's really apparent in the press and the news, because there was a report. I don't know if you guys actually read the report that was published by the government. I'm sure some of you are in touch from the sound of you lot. You seem to be on top of the. There was a report that came out from the government, and it said that in this country, practically in this country that we don't have an issue with race. That was the report's kind of conclusion. And you're absolutely right, because this is the discrete way that the idea of racism works in this country, because it's what we term as, and this is where Razan makes the point, institutional. It's embedded. It's embedded.
Yeah, I mean, we looked at America, and unfortunately, there there's been a highlight in America with the George Floyd case, and it is very sad that in today's times we're still having to deal with such things. And Razan does mention about institutional, it's embedded. Leon says racism in America is way worse. Racism is racism, whether it's done secretly or not.
Yeah,
indeed.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I suppose once you're, if for linking it all to sort of A-level literature, we will, again, you can't escape these type of debates in literature. And, this idea of overt or institutional racism, and what does it mean? Is it that by it being embedded and it not being overt, is it better? Is it worse? Is it all the same? Is it equal? And you're right, probably, that racism is racism, but there is a difference in something that is so overtly racist and what we see in America, like this kind of blatant display of racism and people feeling that they still can treat people of other races in a way and get away with it. I suppose that's essentially what it is. But here, is it a bit more dangerous? Is it a bit more sinister if it's institutional racism? Someone who, people of different races apply for the same job, equal, you don't know if you were rejected because of your race. So is that more sinister? Is it not? And of course, we don't have time to be going into this now, but the point of today's induction was really to give a little snapshot, food for thought, not just a snapshot into Othello, but show you how relevant, great pieces of literature are, and then it leads to all this type of debate and discussion that Wendy's saying discrimination in this country and a lot of countries are huge, and it's very huge, and Razan is agreeing with that as well. And do we ever, one of the themes that we came across, religious, of course, religion as well, that prejudice and racism and prejudice and bias against religion as well.
Can I just add there? Leon says, and we can't escape it, which is so sad. Now, this is an important point, Leon. I think, yes, it is sad to hear that, but the fact that we are debating this, and you are young people, and I understand that it's difficult and things are not looking good, but the fact that we can debate this as an open kind of community, and when you are in our classrooms, hopefully we can carry on this, that might be a sign that things could change. I'm not saying it's going to change completely, but it's a positive sign that we are able, and we're all from different backgrounds, different races, different colors, different religions. Okay, so hopefully the fact that we're debating this is positive, and through literature, as Nidha said already, it's opening up these avenues for us to talk about these issues. Even though some people might say, oh, but it's not relevant, it's 400 years ago, this, that, and the other, it's not there anymore. But we've kind
of proven today in this little half an hour, 40 minutes, 45 minutes of induction thing that actually it is so relevant, So that's one of the things that we kind of wanted to almost show you how relevant literature is. And if you are deciding to choose it, it's this is a little teeny tiny snapshot as to what, the type of lessons and the type of thing that you're letting yourself in for. And I mean, we're biased towards literature because we are lit teachers, but it's brilliant. And if that's the type of thing that you enjoy reading, you enjoy analyzing, you enjoy kind of debating and discussing these different types of issues, then this course is definitely
sign up today if you haven't already. I'm sure you have. Okay, so as much as I'm enjoying this, I have to do the official bit as well, guys. Okay, so we have come to the end pretty much of our presentation, taster session. So I hope you enjoyed the little taster of Othello and what's to come, and I'm sure when we see you guys, we'll go into a lot more detail, and of course, whatever needs in terms of your ability and support, we will provide that as well. But in terms of enrollment, which is the bit that I need to talk to you about before we leave you, Thursday, 12th of August is our official enrollment day. So if you obviously you've applied and you've got your results, so please come in on that day, and you will receive a link via email to enroll the day before your GCSE results day. Okay, so check your email. Okay, check your email before Thursday. So it'll be on, I presume, the 11th of August. Okay,
yeah.
so check your emails, and there's a link, and that's the link that you then upload your results and obviously the communication that comes through. Okay, if you haven't applied, so those of you who've joined us, if you haven't applied, please do so at newvic.ac.uk and apply. So get on there if you really want to come and join us and enjoy the debates and chat. And once you have received your final GCSE results, click the link in the email, upload your results. Okay, and then wait for a call from the college, okay, to complete the process. Okay, so that's the slide. If you guys want to kind of, take maybe a snapshot of this slide, or I'm sure it'll be emailed to you anyway, that's the process. So please click on the link that gets sent to you on the 11th, upload your results, confirm, and obviously that's the application process. And then from then on, we'll let you know what the next stages are. Okay. Now, just before we go, does anyone have any questions? Anything that you want to ask? I mean, obviously, we can do our best in terms of answering.
We'll try and answer any queries you have. Anything, any comments, any questions?
Yeah, Ella, I have a question.
Yes, yeah. Oh, nice to hear your voice.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, if I didn't get the grade I want for GCSE, can't the exam be repeated?
Well, this is the thing. I think once you've got the results, okay, if we can still obviously provide you with a course that suits those grades, we will. But resits can be done for English and maths, depending, of course, on the course that you choose. But as soon as you get your results, Victoria, I think it is, upload them, and then we will get back to you straight away with what's course you can do and what you can't do, and then hopefully from then on we can let you know exactly what's happening. But
and
still,
even about the reset option, I think not for all GCSEs. That is something the college only offers for English and maths. But that is something maybe wait until the results day and then call, because that'll be a specific question, and then you need to get a proper answer for that, Victoria.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
But please do enroll onto the link, though. That's the most important thing. Do enroll, and then we will sort out whatever we need to accordingly.
And Razan is there, and she's eager as ever. Is there anything we can do to prep for English Lit in Year 12? The type of question I would love to hear. Yes, Razan, if you wish, you can make a start on Othello.
Yes.
And you can start reading it, and there's no, making your own sort of notes, because that is, it's always good to see what you're bringing into it, and maybe there'd be some ideas that you've brought into it, and that's your inference and your understanding of the play. And when we discuss it as a class, then of course you can share that as well. The other thing that they're going to be doing is Gatsby.
Great Gatsby, yeah.
Great Gatsby. So if you actually want to get a copy of the Great Gatsby, and you can start reading that as well. I hope that answers that, Razan. Wendy,
Janelle, is it? Do we come into the building? We don't come into the building as yet. You enroll online, and once you've done that, then we'll let you know what the next step is. I think it's Janelle. Yeah. So please use the link to enroll online first, and then once that's done, we'll tell you what to do after that. Okay.
And Wendy has said, thank you for the session. I really enjoyed it. Thank you very much, Wendy. Some great ideas coming through as well. And RBZ has said, thank you. This session was helpful. Very good to know. And just we're presuming no more questions, and if that's it, then
that's spot on. 11:45.
So guys, best of luck for the results, whatever you choose to do. But I am assuming that a lot of you are going to be picking literature, and it would be great to see you. But regardless, best of luck for results day, and all the best, and enjoy your summer. It's been a tough year, but enjoy your summer then. Try and unwind and enjoy it as much as you can.
Thank you all for joining, taking the time out.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Stay safe, everyone. And see you soon. Thank you very much.
Bye,
Thank
Razan.
you.
Bye, Janelle.
Bye now.